Life in West Orange, New Jersey during the early 1960s carried a sense of order and routine. Families filled the pews on Sundays, children played in safe neighborhoods, and hard work shaped the rhythm of everyday existence. But beneath this seemingly ordinary backdrop, a story was beginning that would later take on a much darker tone. On the 22nd of February 1960, Charles Edmund Cullen entered the world as the youngest of 8 children in an Irish Catholic household. His father, a bus driver weakened by illness, died before Charles reached his first birthday, leaving the family fractured. His mother carried the weight of raising 8 children alone, working tirelessly just to keep them fed and clothed. The household was lively and crowded, yet Charles remained an outsider within his own family, quiet, overlooked, and desperately isolated. Classmates remembered him as a boy who avoided attention, speaking in hushed tones and often sitting apart from others. He was teased for being different, but just as often ignored, his loneliness growing in the shadows of school hallways. At home, his siblings were preoccupied with their own struggles, and Charles slipped further into solitude. The blow that would alter his life irreparably came when he was 17. His mother, the only true source of stability in his world, was killed suddenly in a car accident. With her gone, Charles was left without direction, hollowed by grief, and burdened by an emptiness that would follow him for the rest of his life. In the months that followed, Cullen made a decision that surprised those around him. He enlisted in the United States Navy. Perhaps he hoped the rigid discipline of military life would give him purpose. Perhaps he simply needed to escape the empty spaces left behind by his mother's death. He was assigned to the ballistic missile submarine USS Woodrow Wilson. Life beneath the surface was intense, tight quarters, strict rules, and long periods without contact from the outside world. For someone already struggling to connect with others, the submarine was isolating. The crew formed close bonds, but Cullen never quite fit in. His awkwardness and social distance made him stand out, and he became an easy target for pranks and bullying. As the months passed, the isolation began to take a toll. Cullen's mental health deteriorated. He attempted suicide multiple times, once by ingesting chemicals from a submarine control panel, another time by overdosing on pills. Each incident led to brief hospitalization, but after minimal treatment, he was returned to duty. The underlying problems were never addressed. Eventually, his repeated breakdowns and disciplinary problems led to a medical discharge in 1984. At just 24 years old, he was out of the Navy and back in civilian life, adrift once more. What lay ahead would be far darker than anyone could have imagined. Finally, in 1984, after several disciplinary issues, the Navy discharged him on medical grounds. At just 24, he was out in the world again, adrift, unemployed, and mentally unstable. It was around this time that Cullen decided to become a nurse. On the surface, it seemed like a step toward redemption, a way to find meaning in helping others. But for Charles Cullen, nursing would not become a career of compassion. It would become a hunting ground. He enrolled at the Mountainside Hospital School of Nursing in Montclair, New Jersey, graduating in 1986. That same year, he was hired at Saint Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston. It was here, hospital investigators believe, that Cullen claimed his first victim. In 1988, 72-year-old Judge John Yango had been admitted for an allergic reaction. Under Cullen's care, he was given a lethal dose of insulin. There was no reason for the injection, no medical order, no clinical justification. Yango went into a fatal cardiac arrest. The death raised no alarms. Elderly patients died in hospitals all the time. That was Cullen's cover. He chose victims who were already sick or recovering from illness, their deaths blending into the background noise of hospital mortality. At Saint Barnabas, colleagues began noticing something strange. Cullen often appeared in rooms of patients who weren't assigned to him. Patients who were doing fine in the morning would crash suddenly at night. But the hospital, wary of lawsuits and bad publicity, never called the police. Instead, they accepted his resignation when rumors began to swirl. This became his pattern. He would kill, suspicion would grow, and before it reached the point of confrontation, he would resign quietly, moving to another facility, his past left unspoken. Over the years, Cullen worked at Warren Hospital, Hunterdon Medical Center, Liberty Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, Easton Hospital, Lehigh Valley Hospital, and finally Somerset Medical Center. At Warren Hospital in 1933, Patients complained of a nurse who injected them with strange substances. Shortly afterward, 3 elderly women died after telling family members that a nurse had given them an injection. At Hunterdon Medical Center, Cullen's personal life was crumbling. He had married and fathered 2 daughters, but his wife filed for divorce citing disturbing behavior, spiking people's drinks with lighter fluid, burning his daughter's books, even poisoning the family dog's water. The divorce did nothing to slow his killing. Easton Hospital saw the death of 54-year-old Reverend Edward O'Connell, admitted with a mild condition but dead within days. Lab work later revealed a massive overdose of digoxin, a heart medication he had never been prescribed. No matter where Cullen went, unexplained deaths followed. Each hospital handled it the same way: quiet resignation, no criminal investigation, and no warnings to future employers. By 2002, Cullen was working at Somerset Medical Center in Somerville, New Jersey. Here, his murders escalated. Within a year, the hospital's mortality rates had spiked. Patients in stable condition were suddenly dying. Some toxicology reports showed lethal levels of digoxin or insulin. One was 68-year-old Reverend Florian Gall, recovering well from pneumonia. Another was 49-year-old Michael Strenko, who had survived a heart attack and was improving. Both died after Cullen's shifts. Somerset Medical Center spotted a disturbing pattern and alerted the New Jersey Poison Information and Education System. Around the same time, nurse Amy Loughren, a friend of Cullen, was approached by investigators and shown evidence linking him to suspicious deaths. Shocked, she agreed to wear a wire, gathering crucial conversations. On the 12th of December, 2003, police arrested Cullen in a New Jersey restaurant without incident. Confronted with overwhelming evidence, he admitted to killing 40 patients over 16 years, leaving behind a chilling legacy of silent, unexplained deaths. But his admissions came with chilling undertones. Cullen hinted that the real number was far higher, so high that even he claimed he had lost count. Detectives suspected the figure could be over 400, a total that would make him the most prolific serial killer in American history.
And we are here today for the purpose of obtaining a voluntary tape statement from Mr. Cullen pertaining to the death of Reverend Florian Gall, which occurred at Somerset Medical Center on June 28th of 2003. We are also here to speak to Mr. Cullen in reference to several other deaths that occurred at Somerset Medical Center and other medical and healthcare facilities. Let's talk about the matter pertaining to Florian Gall. Are you responsible for his death?
Yes, I am.
And why is that, Charlie?
Because I injected him with a medication called digoxin.
And let me back up. A little bit. I may have jumped the gun a little bit. Are you currently employed?
No, I am currently not employed.
Okay. Where was your last place of employment?
I was a nurse in Somerset Medical Center in Somerville, New Jersey.
Yet proving each case was nearly impossible. Hospital records were incomplete, many bodies had been cremated, and toxicology testing was not always performed. For investigators, it was a race against time and memory. They pored over decades of charts, searching for patterns, looking for unexplained spikes in insulin or digoxin levels. Every confirmed victim brought some measure of closure to a grieving family, but there were far too many cases where the truth would remain forever hidden. In 2006, Cullen stood before the court to hear his fate. He was sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, a punishment that would keep him behind bars until the day he died.
And what legacy will you have left behind, sir? A serial murderer, serial killer. You ruined the lives of your family, your children, and many people in this courtroom. You've bloodied and stained the medical profession. Absolutely abhorrent what you did, sir.
Your Honor, count 4 charges the defendant with the murder of Jack.
And I still can't really comprehend it. A registered nurse who was supposed to be a caretaker took the life of my brother. for his own personal, selfish, and twisted gain.
You are hereby sentenced to New Jersey State Prison to 2 consecutive life sentences, which, with the application of the No Early Release Act, that is NJSA 2C:43-7.2, mandates a period of 85%, or approximately 127.5 years of parole ineligibility.
For the families of his victims, it was a form of justice, but not the justice they had hoped for. No sentence could undo the years of pain or bring back the lives lost. During the proceedings, Cullen sat with an unnerving stillness. He showed no visible remorse, no sign of empathy. When families delivered emotional victim impact statements, his reaction was not one of guilt or shame. At times, he mocked the process, telling the judge to stop in the middle of testimony. To those watching, it was a final insult, a cruel reminder of the cold detachment that had allowed him to kill so many without hesitation. For some families, the most haunting thought is this: their loved one's death may have been recorded as natural, accidental, or inevitable, when in truth, it was the result of a deliberate act. And somewhere, perhaps in the darkness of his cell, Charles Cullen still remembers every single one.